Indian restaurants than there are fish and chip shops, you know.
Indian restaurants?
Yeah.
So what does that tell you then?
I don't know what it tells me.
Looks like that whole expansionism thing back in the 17 and 1800 backfired. Huh?
Yes, exactly. It's emerald.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have a show anymore, you know that?
Doesn't?
No, it got canceled.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought he was on at 7 o'clock.
Oh, it was, but they're just finishing up what the stuff that he's already shot.
Oh, yeah?
He's not making any more new shows. They canceled him.
Why is that?
Because apparently his ratings, I guess, weren't high enough, or the network got tired of him, looking for something different.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, today we were talking about that big copper pot.
yeah.
That was in England, where my mother and father always called that the preserving pan, because the kilner jar type things, they used to make preserve all sorts of fruit and stuff, and they, in that thing would hold about a dozen bottles, and they used to boil it in that, and then put the tops on when it was boiled with the rubber rings and seal it, and that was called a preserving pan. That's what it was made for, and also I remember Mother making jam in that thing, you know, and jam, marmalade, and all that. We used to buy the Valencia oranges and make our own marmalade, all done in that. And in addition to that copper preserving pan, there were also a number of copper saucepans. I don't know whatever happened to them, but they used to, when I was young, they used to have them and used to use them. In the same with, we used to have the copper kettles Dad made as well, and used to have them on the stove to boil water. And
Well, you've got the one copper kettle in the garage, right?
yeah. Well, that one used to be used regularly, you know. And but there was others as well as that. In fact, winter time, we always had one in the fireplace. I mean, they had two what they call hobs on each side of the fireplace. They always had one kettle there. It didn't bring it to the boil, but the water got very, very hot. And then you could just take it out and stick it on the stove for a couple of minutes, and it boiled for making tea or whatever, you know. But things were kind of a little different. Well, I mean, why Mother used to make all these jams and things, I don't really know, you know. I presume at the end of the day it was cheaper than buying it ready-made in the shop, you know. Although I don't remember seeing much jam for sale in the shops. You know, it's I think everybody was making it. It was a common thing because you could, when you made the jam, the jam jar was, I suppose half a pint size or thereabouts, and you could buy the little call it grease paper covers for it, and you used to put that on the over it after it had cooled with a rubber band, to seal it. And well, that was it. They used to put it away somewhere where it was cool and have it throughout the year. 'Cause I honestly don't remember that we ever bought any jam. Mother always made it. Raspberry and peach and all this sort of stuff. It was all, she made all that stuff. and she used to make the Christmas puddings, which is a different type of, it's like a plum pudding. And I remember she used to make those in that big preserving pan because she used to make 6 or 8 of them and give them to people in the family. And when those plum puddings were made, or the Christmas puddings were made, they used to tie a piece of cloth around the top of it and bring the 4 edges over up and tie it across and put it in the preserving pan and boil it on top of the stove. And then boil it for an hour or 2, whatever it happened to be. And then you could kind of, when it cooled, you could lift it out on the cloth, which was on the top, and that cloth stayed on it, well, you know, until Christmas time or New Year or went to whenever it was eaten. And all you did was put it into a saucepan and warm it up for an hour or whatever, and then open it up, and that was it. But yeah, I remember she used to make all that stuff. The same was, there was no, they had lard, of course. There was no such thing as margarine that I recall. And she used to buy what they call a big chunk of suet, which was the fat out of a cow. And you used to grate that on a grating machine. You grate on a grater and get it down very small. And this was used in the in everything that was made, as they as people now use margarine, oils, and butter, all that sort of stuff. But they always use this suet stuff. You know? And I remember seeing the half sides of beef hanging in the butcher shop in great chunks of this suet there. You know, and you get, you know, give me 2 pounds of suet and they go cut this solid grease off. And sometimes I also remember that that was all broken up and used in the cooking, but occasionally I remember she used to put it in the pot and sort of melt it all down and get the fat out of it, you know. So that's I remember on a weekend, on a Sunday, we always had a roast beef of some form or other. It wasn't the nice beef we get here. It was a lot of fat in it and all that sort of stuff. And the drippings went into making Yorkshire pudding and that, and then anything left over used to go into a jar, and my dad used to spread this on bread. You know, it was quite a mixture. It didn't taste too bad, you know, but it's different. The life was so different, you know, so different. You know, what are you laughing at, Jamie?
Your dad used to spread basically lard on bread.
That's right. That's right. The drippings out of the meat. Oh yeah.
It's just fat.
It was fat, yeah.
Liquid fat.
Yeah. I mean, I used to eat it as well. We all used to eat it. Yeah. Hard to imagine nowadays.
Well, no, it kills people. That's why.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But people lived to a fair age. Yeah. But the thing is, when you were physically working hard, as people did, I think a lot of this stuff was sort of burned off, Jamie, you know? I mean, the amount of potatoes and starches that everybody had, you know? Nobody thought anything about potatoes going into sugars and all this sort of stuff. You just had potatoes. In fact, you take this fellow, what's they call now? Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
The
swimmer.
The swimmer. I mean, you saw the amount of stuff that he used to eat or did before. You know, it was phenomenal amount of stuff. And most of that was starches to give him the energy. Yeah, well, I don't know.
not everybody's an Olympic swimmer though.
No. But I mean, the thing is, if you're using energy,
All right, you're
you
burning
know,
it.
yeah, you burn it off. I mean, Dad was a coppersmith, yes, but the thing is, like in summertime, in the place where he worked, in the various shipping company, boat yards and so forth, it was hot. Wintertime it was cold, so you needed that little extra of whatever,
Right.
And what can I say? It's butter was basically a lot of the butter, the cheaper butter, right, that we used to get, came in a big cube. I imagine it must have been about 40 pounds or something like that. And most of the butter used to come from New Zealand. And you want a pound of butter, they cut a chunk off it and weighed it up, and that was it.
And that was your pound of butter.
That was your pound of butter. And the same applied to cheeses too. An awful lot of the cheeses came from overseas, Australia and New Zealand. They were big round cheeses, and they used to cut them with a wire, and that was it. You get a pound of cheese or whatever it happened to be. So, and they, you should cut it down. In fact, you don't see it anymore. But in England, they used to have what they call cheese dishes, which the cover was sloping to match the wedge that came out of the wheel of cheese. I haven't seen it in years. There was no refrigeration at all. And, you used to get milk, of course, and the milk, summertime, it would last a day or two, something like that. And flies were everywhere, and I used to have a little gauze thing, a little mesh,
Like a cheesecloth.
cheesecloth with beads around it, and you put that over the top of the, just hung it over there, and so the flies wouldn't get down into the milk. Oh, cool. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.